The company that sued YouTube for $1 billion in copyright theft was secretly uploading its own content to YouTube at the same time, using fake accounts, burner emails, and employees sent to Kinko's so the uploads couldn't be traced back to them. That company was Viacom, the owner of MTV, Comedy Central, BET, and Paramount Pictures. And that's not even the most insane part of this story, because hiding behind that lawsuit is a cover-up that goes all the way to Google. Cover-up that explains why the most powerful technology company in the world paid $1.65 billion for a platform with no revenue, built on stolen content, with $1 billion lawsuit already on its way. This is the real reason Google bought YouTube. To understand what really happened, you need to go back to 2005. YouTube launched in February of that year. 3 former PayPal employees, a garage, and a website that let anyone upload any video they wanted. Within months, the site was flooded with pirated content. TV shows, movie clips, music videos, millions of people uploading content they had absolutely no right to share. YouTube's founders had a choice: take it down or let it ride. And we know exactly which one they chose, because 7 years later, a court case forced their private emails into public record. In September 2005, co-founder Chad Hurley sent an email warning that the site was getting out of control with copyrighted material. Co-founder Stephen Chen wrote back. He said if they removed all the copyrighted content, their daily views would collapse by about 80%. Then he said they could hide behind something called DMCA Safe Harbor, claim they didn't know who owned the rights, and only take down videos if they received a legal notice. Let the pirates do the work, pretend not to notice, and deal with lawyers later, was the strategy. Co-founder Jawed Karim didn't just agree with the strategy, he actually went on YouTube himself and uploaded pirated content. And Chad Hurley, the one who'd raised the concern, sent a message to his co-founders that said, "Save your meal money for some lawsuits." They weren't naive kids who didn't understand copyright law, they understood it perfectly. They made a deliberate decision to build their company on stolen content and bet they could outrun the consequences. By summer of 2006, YouTube was serving over 100 million videos per day. The bet was paying off. And here's what DMCA Safe Harbor actually means. It's a provision in US law that protects online platforms from being held responsible for copyright infringement committed by their users, as long as the platform removes infringing content when notified. It's the legal shield that allowed YouTube to exist. But the shield had one critical weakness. If you can prove a platform knowingly profited from infringement, if you can show the company saw it happening, understood it was driving their growth, and made a deliberate choice to allow it, Safe Harbor disappears. And YouTube's founders had put all of that in writing. By late 2006, the major media companies were circling. Universal Music had publicly called YouTube a copyright infringer that owed them tens of millions of dollars. Viacom was watching 150,000 of their clips, from SpongeBob to South Park to MTV, get viewed 1.5 billion times without a single dollar coming their way. A lawsuit was inevitable at this point. And it wasn't going to be a nuisance lawsuit. It was going to be a surgical strike directly at Safe Harbor, using YouTube's own emails as the weapon, aimed at destroying the legal foundation the entire platform was built on. For a company with no revenue and no legal war chest, that was a death sentence. Now here's the part of the story that nobody tells. Google already had a video platform. It was called Google Video. It launched in January 2005, the same year as YouTube. It had better technology, better search capability, and the full weight of Google's engineering team behind it. And it was getting absolutely destroyed by YouTube. Google Video tried to respect copyright from the beginning. It worked with rights holders, it tried to do things properly. YouTube, on the other hand, let piracy drive growth and planned to deal with the consequences later. The pirates chose YouTube, and the pirates brought everyone else with them. So by mid-2006, Google was staring at a problem with no good options. Their own platform was irrelevant, YouTube was dominant, and YouTube was weeks away from being hit by a legal missile that would probably kill it. If YouTube collapsed, something else would fill the vacuum. Google would still have lost the video war permanently. There was only one move: buy YouTube before the missile landed. Not because it was safe, not because the legal risk had disappeared, but because Google was the only company in the world with enough money, enough lawyers, and enough engineering resources to survive what was coming. They weren't escaping the trap. They were buying a burning building because they were the only ones with enough water to put the fire out. On the morning of October 9, 2006, something happened that almost nobody noticed at the time. Before Google announced the acquisition, YouTube signed content deals with Universal Music and Sony BMG. Google signed separate deals with Warner Music and Sony BMG. CBS signed a content partnership with YouTube. All of this happened the same morning as the $1.65 billion acquisition. Not weeks before, not months before, the exact same morning. One reporter at the time noted almost in passing that Google was presumably waiting for YouTube to head off legal threats before signing on the dotted line. That single sentence buried in a 2006 news article is the closest anyone came at the time to telling the real story. Those content deals weren't partnerships. They were a preemptive ceasefire. The companies most likely to file the most devastating lawsuits were converted into revenue-sharing partners on the same day that Google took ownership. You don't sue the company sending you a monthly check. 5 months later, in March 2007, Viacom filed their lawsuit anyway. $1 billion, massive intentional copyright infringement, 150,000 unauthorized clips viewed 1.5 billion times. It was the nuclear option, the lawsuit designed to set a legal precedent that would destroy YouTube's safe harbor defense once and for all. And for a while, it looked like it might work. Then, in 2010, the sealed court documents were released, and the full picture finally came out. While Viacom was publicly calling YouTube a criminal enterprise, while their lawyers were building $1 billion case about stolen content, Viacom themselves were privately running a completely different operation. They had hired 18 separate market agencies to secretly upload their own content to YouTube. They deliberately degraded the video quality to make it look like pirated footage leaked by fans. They created fake grassroots accounts using anonymous email addresses. They sent employees to Kinko's actual Kinko copy shops to upload videos from computers that couldn't be traced back to Viacom. One internal Viacom email from 2006 reads simply, "I'm uploading YouTube videos under the fake grassroots account." Viacom was secretly using the platform they were publicly trying to destroy, benefiting from the same piracy they were suing to stop. And they did it so covertly that their own employees lost track of what was real and what was planted. The result was almost farcical. On multiple occasions, Viacom sent YouTube takedown notices demanding removal of videos that Viacom itself had secretly uploaded. Then days later asked for them to be reinstated. Some of the very clips Viacom was suing over had been put there by Viacom themselves. But the court documents revealed one more thing, the detail that reframes everything. Before Viacom filed their $1 billion lawsuit, they had tried to buy YouTube themselves. Right up until the moment that Google closed the deal, Viacom was in acquisition negotiations. Google said no. So Viacom did the only thing they had left. They filed a lawsuit they hoped would give them what the acquisition couldn't. The lawsuit ran for 7 years. Google never settled. They fought it all the way through 2 separate court rulings and an appeals process. In 2010, the judge ruled in YouTube's favor. Safe harbor protection held. Viacom appealed. The case went back for further hearings. The judge ruled for YouTube again. In 2014, the parties settled quietly out of court. The terms were never disclosed. Viacom got no public verdict, no $1 billion, no YouTube. But while the legal battle was grinding on, Google was building the real solution, Content ID. An automated system that scans every video uploaded to YouTube against a database of copyrighted material, and instead of blocking it, gives the rights holder a choice. Take it down or leave it up and collect a share of the advertising revenue. It was a masterstroke. The technology didn't just end the legal war, it made the war irrelevant. Former enemies started receiving monthly checks. The incentive to sue disappeared. The entire ecosystem that had been trying to destroy YouTube became financially dependent on YouTube surviving. Mark Cuban called it moronic. Every analyst questioned the price. The entire industry assumed YouTube would be sued into oblivion. And in a sense, they were right. YouTube as a standalone company almost certainly would have been. What they didn't account for was Google. A company that looked at a burning building, understood exactly how the fire started, and made a calculated bet that they were the only ones with enough resources to put it out, and own what was left standing afterwards. The $1.65 billion that everyone called a mistake, YouTube generated $60 billion in revenue last year alone. It is now worth up to $550 billion. The greatest investment in the history of media. Built on a $1 billion lawsuit, emails that should have destroyed everything, and a rival company that sent its own employees to Kinko's to undermine the case they were publicly fighting.